everyone. So today's guest is Prof. Vangsø, Associate Professor in Soil Physics and Hydropedology at Aarhus University. And he's also one of the collaborators of IMSOGLO program, where I obtained my master's degree and where we actually also met with Prof. During the summer school. So welcome to this podcast and thank you for being here, Prof.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. And good to see you again.
Yeah. So as we had the summer school and we were working with the soil, and I think with also the current development in science, in soil science, the importance of soil science is rising, I would say, every year. We need more soil scientists to deal who can give the advice to the farmers, and also for food security, climate change, etc., etc. So in this context, importance of soil science in current state of the world. So given today's global environmental challenges and the serious consequences we are witnessing, perhaps slowly but surely every year, especially in the last decades, how does this highlight the importance of soil science in addressing these issues?
Yeah, I agree. We have a growing population. We need to grow more land. Maybe not more land, but we have to at least to address the growing population worldwide that has to need something to eat. So that will put a pressure on the soil, on agricultural land, and then at the same time we have we also have a climate change that so there will be areas maybe in the world where it will be difficult to grow the land. So there will be a shift maybe in crops in certain places, and there maybe be areas that cannot be grown anymore. So I agree with you that there is an increase in the awareness of the soil and how to also to preserve the soil in relation to have the best conditions for plant growth. And this also means, of course, with the increase in production, and there will also be environmental issues that need to be addressed also, of course. So
I do agree, especially I think because I come from Central Asia, from Kazakhstan, semi-arid and arid region. We especially every year having a bad experience with the yield, because my one of my cousin has a farming, and so it's good that we have maybe I will switch to the next question smoothly. With this, we have a program like IMSOGLO, because they reach out to me and they ask the advice from me, because they know that I've studied. So I think in this context, you're also involved in the International Masters in Soils and Global Change that educates the next generation of soil scientists that have the knowledge and skills to characterize soils, understand soil evolution in an ecosystem context under global change, and to develop strategies and to implement climate smart soil management policies as well. And this is also the description actually that is provided in the website.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, I did actually. I was stole some of this descriptions, but yeah, this is true. And can you please also tell us more about this master's program and why this program can be particularly important today?
Yeah, as I thought about the description, is a collaboration between 3 universities in Europe, and we also have some affiliated partners, but mainly it's 3 universities. So it's Ghent University and University of Göttingen in Germany, and Ghent is in Belgium, of course. And then we have the Agricultural University, Boku in Vienna, and then we are involved also, Aarhus University. So I think of course, the overall idea of the program is, as you perfectly described, is to teach our students in how to handle the soil and in respect to change in climate and things like that. But generally, I also think as the purpose was also to integrate expertise from those different universities in order to construct a program that deals and where we teach in all the important subjects in relation to soil science, and that involves a lot of things, of course: soil physics, soil biology, focus on water and nutrient transport, and greenhouse gas emission, and biodiversity, and things like that. And I think also we had we know for many universities it's like the different universities there they get more and more focused in some certain specialities. So in respect to the teaching, it can sometimes be difficult to have instructors that can handle all kinds of different subjects. So I think also one of the idea with IMSOGLO was also to have a larger pool of of instructors and professors and associate professors and whatever that could teach in all those different subjects related to soil science, and to be able to handle the objectives of the program.
Yeah. As well, there are two majors, right? So biogeochemistry and then the physical land resource.
Yeah, that's right. They actually now we are running like we had those first 4 intakes, or 5 actually, and then we applied the commission for continuing the program. As for this was the Erasmus Mundus, and we got our application approved. So last year in September we had intake number 6 in the program. But this is also, so we redefined the program actually. Mm-hmm. So in general, we have the same 2 specializations that just have some new names, and I don't remember the names exactly right now actually. But basically, it's the 2. There are 2 specializations. One focusing more on the physical processes, one focusing more on the biological processes. And the one with the physical processes, that involves university, so Ghent University in Belgium and my university, and the other specialization where they focus more on soil biology. It's there we also have that it's Göttingen as well as Boku, and together with Ghent also. All the students, they the first semester they are together in Ghent before the split up in the 2 specializations.
Yeah, a few years ago, I did interview Professor Vijver specifically about this IMSOGLO program, and actually he's retired now, but
yeah, I know.
It's still it still continues. It's actually very nice to see, and we were discussing with also Eugenio, with Professor Eugenio, and also there's some the teaching assistant Daniela Sauer from Göttingen University, that we should arrange a graduates meeting, all gather up one more time, because I think we have a quite a big number of students already. It's running for almost few years now, this program, right?
It has, yes. So I think it's about, and I don't have the precise number of how many who graduated in the program. It must be around 100 students or something like that, I would guess. Yeah. So that's really nice for me also. Now I have a lot of contacts to all the international students who has followed the program. I think it has for me it has been a pleasure actually to getting involved in, first of all, also meeting with the professors and associate professors and from the other universities, but especially also meeting all those international students coming from all over the Earth.
Yeah,
as you
true.
coming from Southwest Asia and people coming from other parts in Asia and South America and Europe, of course, also, and Africa also. So it's really, for me, it has been encouraging to, because most of all students coming, they are very enthusiastic and they really want to learn something more about soil, and we also have our own programs here at the university here in Aarhus, but it's some very broad programs in relation to agriculture. But my section, the focus of my section is more into soil physics. So for us, it has really been very nice to have a lot of students really interested in soil physics also. I really like that.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. Because everyone is coming from different parts of the world, it was also interesting to see, for me, maybe personally, different perspectives looking at solving the problem, as well, how they prioritize or how they approach the problem, and because we were all studying together, and it's quite interesting. Sometimes it's stereotypical, maybe, although I think also their farming practices are quite different. Yeah, they have they are interested in different crops. They prioritize different, or the farming practices in general. I had a friend of mine from it's in Central America, and I cannot remember the Guatemala, I guess. Yeah, Alex. And then I didn't know that they didn't have summer, winter.
No.
Yeah. So I was talking like, oh, this is, because we were working on a project, and I was on the precipitation, and for me it makes sense. Like, okay, during this period, we expect nothing because it's winter, and then we have to sit. So he doesn't understand, like, what do you mean? We
they have
yeah,
the same temperature all year round. Yeah, I also met actually with a former student here just after New Year, and she also come from Middle America, and she also said from the highlands. So he said, yeah, and in my place the temperature is between 16 and 19 degrees all year round. Yeah, so that is very opposite. But that's also right, and also I think many of the students, they have different backgrounds in respect to where they come from, but there are some of the they also have some educational differences. Some are have studied agronomy, maybe some more into soil science, and others maybe from geology programs or environmental science. So that's also very, very interesting. So that they have those different backgrounds, because that also means that in class they can contribute in different ways.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. It's also very interesting to have as we proceed. From my year, I could tell that everyone is selected a different topic, but of course, within the environmental science, it's good to have such a rich source, because whenever I have a question about certain topic, I just start to remembering who was doing the research. Yeah, so I could reach out to them, and they could explain me more. So I do it sometimes. So it's also quite, how to say, every time we go to a conference or we meet someone from IMSOGLO.
Yeah, that's right. That was the same experience I had. I went to the EDU conference meeting in Vienna. That was the year before last year, actually. There I also met a lot of former IMSOGLO students, so that was really nice. And also we have, as well, when you finish your master degree, of course, you can do everything, and you should do what you like, I think. But there are many IMSOGLO students who continue doing a PhD when they finish. I think something around 75% of all of our IMSOGLO students has actually continued with a PhD, and many of them is actually also in my department, actually. From both specialization, both your specialization. I think it's actually more from your specialization than from my own specialization. So, but also really nice to, and they are really, because I think they are hired by our different sections because they have a good experience hiring the IMSOGLO students actually for PhD studies.
Yep.
So that's also very. I'm also very happy with that. So there are still some former students I can meet in here in my department. So I also really enjoy that.
That is great, actually. We can say that I can also be proud that I'm from IMSOGLO, and it's a very competitive program.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Also because it's mainly they come from different countries. I think, and as you said, it maybe can be it's really a change in environment when you come to Europe, maybe to study in a completely new environment. So, but at least you have had 2 years to get adapted, you can say.
Yeah.
You have, and actually it can also maybe be a little bit stressful for some of the students that some of them have to actually to move to a new university every semester. It's not all, but many of you had to do that.
Yeah.
Can also maybe be rather stressful. So to be able to handle that, and at the same time having a success following the different courses, that can be maybe quite challenging, I think. But most of the students they can handle it actually. So that means also for me, they are adaptable also for starting maybe on a PhD program after the master programs.
Yeah, that is true. I cannot speak for all, but personally, I can say that it did help me to, in a professional way, to look at the certain challenges or certain problems with different perspectives, because that's maybe also the richness of the program, that it has people with different backgrounds that have helped me a lot, because I was working with different people. We have group work, group projects to deliver, and then I was exposed to diverse variety of solving the problem. I think that has been a huge advantage that I still am very thankful, actually. Yeah, it's So in this regard, we can also highlight the importance of agriculture as well. So where soil science and hydrology, soil physics play an essential role. So how Denmark, a country heavily under agriculture, is performing on supporting sustainable agricultural practices in response to these challenges, and what is the role of environmental sciences and their research in this progress?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, and as you perfectly point out, Denmark is, I think, one of the countries in the world who has the most agricultural in respect to the land use. So about 60% of the area of Denmark is under agricultural practice. So and most of the land is intensively cultivated. So we are facing a lot of environmental issues with respect to leaching of nutrients to our aquatic environment, as well as also of greenhouse gas emissions. So the agricultural sector is also actually one of the sectors in Denmark who contributes mostly to the emission of greenhouse gases. So we are facing a lot of problems. We have an enormous pig production in Denmark. So the farmers need to grow a lot of land to feed the pigs, also the cows, but especially the pigs. So and there's a lot of manure from the pigs going back to the fields.
Mm-hmm.
And we have big problems with the quality of our aquatic environment, especially the lakes, and also the inner fjords and the ocean around Denmark. We have to live up to the demands, the Water Frame Directive of the Commission, and we are still far away to live up to the demands. Actually, last year, there came to the government came to agreement with the agricultural sector as well as the environmental organizations to take a big step actually to solve some of our problems. So the decision is now that we will have to take 15% of agricultural land out of production in the very near future. Actually, this year they have to more or less to decide which areas has to go out of production.
You have to take it out of the production, 15%.
Yeah, 15.
15.
So that means we will have to take areas out of production that are the most vulnerable in respect to the leaching of nutrients, and so that will be both farmland that is under intensive production at the moment, and also for the in relation to the greenhouse gas emission, we have a lot of organic lowland that has been under production for many years. They are drained, so many of them it's high organic soils, peat soils maybe. So there's an enormous emission of greenhouse gases, especially CO2, of course, when in relation to the respiration of the organic matter. So there is, I think it's something about 140,000 hectares or something like that of the former wetlands in the stream valleys that has to be taken out of an intensive production also. So that, in respect to the land use here in Denmark, we will experience a lot of changes here in the very near future. That it will have a consequence for the farmers, of course, also in many ways.
I think it's in Denmark is especially interesting case because you have two priorities. First, of course, you have excess manure, right?
Yes, that's perfectly right.
Yeah, you also have a very shallow soil surface, or let's say not shallow. Sorry, the water table is closer to the
yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
That's not. In many places, the groundwater is pretty high, especially in wintertime. Especially here now, for the last 2 years, we have more precipitation than ever. It's been a record for the last 2 years also. So the aquatic environment is under pressure, also due to that actually.
It's a hotspot. I think now it's happening the hotspot for scientists then.
Yeah, it is. Of course, that's also why I like hydrology, of course, because you have to have a good knowledge of the hydrological system. You have to know where the water goes and how it moves through the soil into either to the groundwater or maybe directly to the aquatic environment, such as streams and lakes and oceans. So in order to say something about the nutrient transport, you need to know first of all something about the hydrology.
Yeah.
So
it definitely makes sense. Yeah. It's also, I think it comes down to maybe in recent years it has become a big and it made it even to the news, and everyone was talking about it, about the farmers. So what is your take on the recent unsatisfaction from the farmers' side across Europe?
Yeah, as we have to deal with that, of course. There are also the farmers in Denmark. They, not all, but some are really reluctant to those changes. So we will have to deal with that, of course. And of course, it's it's also understandable, I think, because some of them have maybe have a farm. They have been that they inherited maybe from the parents, and before that from the grandparents. So there's a lot of feelings in respect to this. Of course, it's their way of living. Of course, it's their income that are under pressure. Of course, so of course that in some when if they have to give up production at certain areas of the land, they have to be compensated, of course, in many ways. And we also need to convince the farmers that, and that's our important job here, I think, let's say in our department also, to suggest new ways of growing the land, introducing new crops that are adaptable to climate change and things like that, and crops you can grow with a lesser impact on the environment. So we have an important task here to convince the farmers.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think this. Yeah, I completely agree. I think this again comes back to our first part where we highlighted the importance of soil science. So again, the importance of soil science is increasing every year. We need more educated soil science. So again, I'm shamelessly commercializing IMSOGLO. So I think IMSOGLO is again educating future soil scientists who can come up with the strategies in this is a very complex situation. That's what you are mentioning. For example, as you said, the farmers, it's a family business, and if government says okay 15% should be out of production, then there should be a strategic decision making how we approach this case.
That's right, and we have to do it with the best scientific background. So because let's say we have to take soil out of production, so we need to find the areas where we can see we have the best effect on the impact of the environment, and we will have to document those effects in order to convince the farmers. But we also have to convince the farmers of what kind of problems we are dealing with. There are many farmers about our research is documents actually that it's around 70% of the nutrients being going out to the aquatic environment is actually coming from the agricultural sector. And it's not all farmers who are convinced that that is actually correct. They think that maybe there are other sources that are more important actually. So we also need to explain and show them the documentation that's where we have in order to address the problems actually and where they come from. So I think that is also very important, of course.
Yeah, I think it's also essential to in this regard. Yes, it's good to have research, but as well to consider the social dynamics that this research is actually specifically for agriculture is being done to help the farmers.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
We also have scientists working with that in my department, actually. It's not my job. My job is just, I have other things to do, of course, document things where the water is going and all things like that. But we also have, of course, scientists who are dealing with this communication issues with the farmer communities.
Okay. In this regard, maybe congratulations, actually. First, on receiving a grant for Independent Research Fund Denmark for the project of framework for mapping agricultural subsurface drainage system using proximal and remote sensors, which also relates to the earlier discussions where, again, this is in agriculture. And also extremely nice to see some familiar names involved in the project. Professor Ellen from Ghent University. Yeah, actually she's great, and she's in the same floor where I work.
Okay, you must say hi. Bring my regards.
Certainly. As environmental scientists, we strive to implement emerging technologies, whatever technologies that is up to date, and techniques to enhance our research. Especially, this is extremely relevant today. Perhaps as we often hear the words almost everywhere, every day: big data, AI, machine learning, deep learning, of course, the proximal sensing, remote sensing, again, proximal sensing and remote sensing with the implementation of AI. So again, AI and so on. With this in mind, it would be actually interesting to hear your perspectives on the current state of the soil science and how these advancements are shaping the field, or where do you see future development direction of soil science?
Okay, that was a lot of things. Maybe I can start with the project, what's it about, and then we can go to because you're right. We got this new project about doing different kinds, using different kinds of sensors in order to map the tide drains, this artificial drainage systems. Because I maybe also forgot to mention that in the beginning, actually, because I said as 60% of the area of Denmark is under agricultural productions. But actually, of this 60%, actually, we can document that half of the agricultural land, so that means 30% of the total area of Denmark, is actually tile drained in order to get rid of excess water from the fields. And so that's also because those tile drains, they are actually an important flow pathways for water and nutrients in respect to the leaching of nutrients from agricultural areas. As soon as you have water and nutrients in the tide drains, they go as a highway directly to the aquatic environment. So again, that's why the water transport is important in relation to the nutrient transport to the aquatic environment. So therefore, and since the tile drains is very important in respect to that, we need to know exactly where we have the tile drains, and we don't always know that. So that is why sometimes there are some maps that were made when they established all the tile drain systems, but they most often they don't exist. So in order to find the tile drains, we need to have some method where we can find them in the soil, and it's not that easy actually. So in this project, we will use different kinds of proximal sensors and to find the best solution to finding the drains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And that's right. We're working with Ellen from from Ghent University, and I'm also going to work together with my old PhD students who will be part of this project here. Also, he's a tenure track now in my department, Treven Koganti. So I'm looking very much forward starting on this project. Yeah, but then maybe continue answering your questions about because this use of different kinds of sensors is also a really a growing research area in soil science, because we need more and more data, and to be able to collect more and more.
Always.
We need more data. So we also need to develop methods where we can collect more data. So the use of different kinds of sensors to collect soil data is very important. And it's also something we're working a lot with here at my department, in my group, in my section. So I think that is where the soil science is developing pretty fast at the moment. This about finding out the ways to collect more data in an efficient way. And as soon as you start getting more and more data, it's getting more and more difficult to analyze the data, to understand the spatial variability and things like that. So that's again leads to the development of more and more sophisticated statistical techniques and things like artificial intelligence, neural network, and machine learnings, and all kinds of statistical techniques in order to analyze data and get a meaning out of them. So I think that's actually where we see a lot of development at the moment. So have this called pedo transfer function, what you also where you try to you have some basic soil data that could be soil texture or organic matter or something like that, and you want to translate that into more parameters that are more difficult to measure, such as hydraulic properties. It takes a long time to describe the variability of the hydraulic properties of the soil if you want to do standard measurements, taking out soil columns, bringing them to the lab and things like that. So if you can, just by measuring, maybe with the use of sensor instruments, can measure, let's say, the clay content of the soil or the organic matter content, maybe you can also translate that into some other or difficult measurable parameters.
Yeah. What I'm thinking is I'm still in the first part where you mentioned described the research. I think this is quite essential research. So it's directly implemented then also for the policy making, right? As I understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because as Ghent said, where we have to focus on the land use in the future, and also we have also the farmers can also use different kinds of mitigation measures to filter out, to avoid the leaching of nutrients from the agricultural areas. So we also have what we call end of pipe solutions. So that means we find, that's why it's also important to know how the area where we have the tile drain, the catchment areas where, so we maybe have a outlet from a drain pipe going out to a stream. So we need to know how big area contributes to this specific point, because then we have some mitigation measures that the farmers can use, such as something we called constructed mini wetlands, where the nutrients can be filtered out before they actually goes into the aquatic environment. There's also other solutions, more compact filter solutions, and other techniques also. But so we are also trying to come up with some measures the farmers can use. So the farmer is still able to cultivate the soil in the way he wants, maybe, and then we can handle maybe the leaching of nutrients by implementing such systems.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but it does seem somehow similar to the decision-making system that we have in Flanders. Is that because my research is in bio-based fertilizers, and we do map the nitrogen leaching vulnerable zones. And if you are within that zone, you have high restrictions for the nitrogen rate application. So your aim is to make a mapping for the vulnerable zones, for which zones are more vulnerable for leaching.
Yeah, exactly. We do the same, of course, because we can see everything we divided Denmark into several smaller catchments, and so we focus on which areas are most vulnerable. And it also and then we also relate it, of course, to where we can see which where in the aquatic environment, where the aquatic environment is most vulnerable. There are, let's say, the western part of the ocean west of Denmark is not that vulnerable, maybe, but the inner oceans are very vulnerable. So the catchment contributing to the water in those areas, that's of course where we have to put most effort into the changes in the land use. And again, those areas there we have to focus more on, of course, finding the most vulnerable areas. But if we can find them, maybe we'll come closer to a solution of the problem.
Yeah, I think it's also that's also how the agriculture is changing more. I mean, maybe I'm keeping track of it. Every interview, I try to ask a similar question or the same question, because a few years ago I interviewed a PhD student in at Boku, and basically he was digitalizing the soil information. So there are books or the historical recordings of the soil information, and he has to digitalize it, the maps. So it seems to me, maybe I'm biased, but the importance of mapping, importance of knowing basic statistics, importance of knowing basic programming or any programming language is rising every year.
Yeah.
I think there has been also discussion in IMSOGLO about it. Yeah,
I agree. I have my daughter, she's studying chemistry. She's an undergrad student. So I also told her, learn to code, learn to use Python or R or something like that, because you will benefit from that later on. And I think she is starting to agree. So I agree. So but that's within all kinds of science. I think it's you develop more sophisticated statistical techniques and the way of mapping. That's maybe also they do some mapping at chemistry, but it's so you need to, the way of handling those massive data is getting more and more important, and that comes also, of course, to mapping using geographical information systems and the statistical analysis of spatial data is it's getting more and more important.
And IMSOGLO is a great program to learn all these skills, because
good. I'm happy to hear. We also try to put focus on those subjects, I think.
Yeah, indeed. We do have mapping GIS with Professor Ann, and also I'm not sure about the the second program, but in my program in soil biogeochemistry, we at Boku University itself offered us programming. It's free of charge for all the students, and they're actually they did the course was quite advanced, but very challenging. I guess I also learned a lot there. Yeah. So IMSOGLO program, if the listeners, please check it out. You will also find the link in the description. Yes, I'm not paid to commercialize, but yeah.
No, but I think we're getting close to the deadline for sending out application for scholarships for the program. So maybe we should do some advertising there. I'm just, I think it is here end February or something like that.
Yeah.
We have the deadline for applications.
Okay, this episode is a great opportunity. I will also provide all the information for IMSOGLO students as well.
Yeah, it is 28 February. I just looked it up. So please advertise. I will do that as well. So, but normally we have a lot of applicants. Actually, I think 2 years ago when we had a full program still with I think something like between 20 and 25 scholarships, we had almost 1,000 applicants actually. So.
So 1,000.
It's 1,000. Yes, so it's quite competitive to receive a scholarship actually. But you can also come here as a self-payer, of course. And we also have some some other possibilities actually that you can be partly self-funding actually. So the economical pressure on the student will be little bit less. So that's also an opportunity actually.
Maybe, well, if you have 1,000 applicants, perhaps you are also implementing AI to, I don't know, to sort
that might
out
be a good idea. I think I will suggest that for our next meeting. I think we could benefit from that actually. It's a big task to go through. I'm not the one who goes through all the application actually, but there is one sitting in Ghent who's doing that. It's an enormous job.
Yeah,
And we
because
use that.
sure, it's great. Yeah, we maybe write a program that can check for the keywords and then
Yeah, something like that. Yes, and then you can compare to how they performed, the former students, how they performed actually, and then you should be able to make some kind of a model that could predict which of the students being. Yeah, there are many ways of defining to be successful. I would say. For me, it's always, of course, nice to have some talented students, but first of all, we need students that are motivated and find the subject interesting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, of course, because we focus on the finding talented students, of course. But I think for me, it's also very important also to focus on that. But you have a student that actually moves from one level to another, from the start of his study to the end of his study. So for me, is also that's just as important that you see some kind of development. So okay, some students they are of course in many ways, as let's say, better than others in many aspects. So, but just that you see a change of the students that's from the start to the end. I think that's very important for me.
Yes, I guess it's also 2 years master's program, and it's quite challenging, and therefore, if you don't have the motivation and curiosity to continue on, then you might face some more challenges, perhaps.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
will be difficult for you to succeed. So I think that's of course important. We need to find motivated students for our program, of course. And I think mostly, nearly all are motivated.
I guess in this regard as well, because what I've noticed is most of the time when I make these podcast episodes or in the interview professors, as a student myself, what we look for in this podcast is the advice from the professors. So why I was also trying to link the last question, perhaps maybe I made it too general, but in what direction the soil science is going. So I think the essential point you pointed out, learn some coding language. So you would advise that for also incoming master students or any PhD students who are doing masters right now, so you would advise them to learn some coding language or
I would. Well, it's not that you can't survive without being good at coding. That I think there's also many. I think basically you should also put focus on where you have your interest, because as you perfectly said, motivation is important. So you should feel motivated in respect to what you are doing. So focus on that first of all. Of course, there are to become an individual with all the needed competences. You will have to focus broad, of course. So maybe something that you don't really think is interesting, maybe when you dig into it, you will find it more interesting. So give things a chance, I would say. But of course, but also, go for your instinct sometimes also, because if you don't have the motivation, I think you will fail in many ways. So do what you find interesting, first of all.
So thank you actually for your time and also making this episode. But it's not the end. I do have some
Oh,
general,
okay.
yes, I do have some general question, because I would like to spare some time also because we are human beings also for some general questions. We just share our general experience apart from science. Yeah. If you don't mind, I will go with the first question then. I think it's very a lot of the challenge comes from with the time management, of course. So, as a scientist, how do you maintain between work and personal life balance? And I know that you do some healthy, you do have some healthy habits like running and playing basketball. So perhaps sharing your experience could also help for incoming PhDs or the master students who are listening to this episode.
Yeah, well, that's right. I really like sport. Also watch sports in television, but mainly doing sport myself. Is right. I run a lot. Uh, for some periods, I have been maybe running up to 50 kilometers per week or something like that. And well, I'm getting old. Of course, I'm 57 now, so I can feel, of course, I'm not young anymore. So, but I also find out that I just have to run even more than to get to still be able to run relatively fast. So I also like to compete. Actually, I sometimes in the weekend I participate in a race, in a public race, where I can compete with people on the same age, but also sometimes someone who's younger. So I also like that. I also like playing basketball very much. I think it's one of the best sports. So I play every week on an old boys basketball team in the village near where I live. I really like that because I also have a lot of good friends there. So we play basketball every Thursday night for 1.5 hours, and then we after that we have the third, what we call the third half. So we sit and talk and drink some beers and have fun. So then I return pretty late at night, and then I have to crawl into my car to go to the university. But yeah, I still like it. So I think it's very important also to have some kind of work-life balance. So and of course, as a scientist, where you have to work with a lot of different things, you have to do research, you have to teach, you have to do a lot of handle a lot of things, economy, and talk to students and supervise them. So of course, I also sometimes work a lot, maybe too much, but what I do, I really try to divide my working hours, and then when I have my spare time. So maybe I work for long hours, but I try to when I am at home, I try not to, unless there's something very I really have to do. If I work on an application, I have, but I try not to check my emails at night and things like that. I have a phone with where I can read my emails, but I have the notifications are turned off. So I have to open the app to check the email. So do that, and also try to avoid working in the weekends. So try to divide things up because it's very. I think for me it's very important also to to not focus on your work all the time. I think it's
Yeah.
and also it's not only you also need to take use some time together with your family, of course. Well, now my children they are relatively old. They are about 20, so that not as much work with the children anymore. So that's of course also give you some more spare time
Mhm.
that you can
Yeah.
use doing some sports or maybe being together with your wife, of course, also or friends.
So I think it's also nice to see that you are yourself as an example, having healthy habits because the why it's essential to have maybe healthy habits. As me as a PhD student, I also do run, and it's you might have sometimes overwhelmed with the stress and with overthinking, or there could be many things. And then when you just take a fresh air and then go running or do some physical activity, it does help. Scientifically, it has some positive impacts on your body, on your mental health as well.
I agree.
So, yeah.
It gives you, it gives you some kind of a surplus in relation to what you're able to do, and it's very seldom you regret going out for a run or going to play 1.5 hour of basketball. So
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I also recently became perhaps more competitive.
That's good.
It's
No, not necessarily, but
yeah. Let
it
me
gives you the
explain.
motivation, I think. So what did you do? So what did you do?
Competitive in all aspects, specifically when you made a post on Instagram that you ran a marathon, I believe, right?
Yeah, I did. Yes,
Full marathon.
not very.
Yeah.
I mainly do a half marathon. I only been running 2 marathon in my life. Actually, I did one almost 30 years ago, and then I did another one, the second one here 2 years ago or something like that in Hamburg. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 43 kilometers.
Yeah, 42.
42. Okay.
Yeah, but
That's
I
a
don't.
dream.
I think it's very tough. It's not that running a marathon is tough, of course, but I think everybody more or less can learn how to and train themselves up to running a marathon. But I think it put a pressure on your body in some way. So after you will have to restitute for several weeks afterwards. So I'm not, so it's not something you should do very often. I would not advise that. That's why I like running shorter distance better. Actually, 10 kilometers, maybe half marathons. If I go for a race.
Mm-hmm. Daily or some two daily, or I started running, I think, every day, and well, but there was consequences. I injured my leg, so I had to stop running completely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another advice. Don't run too fast when you it's not necessary. Take most of your runs easily. Like you can if you run with somebody else, you should be able to talk to the person you run to next to. So then maybe you could take one run every week where you run fast, speed it up, but all the other runs take it easy. It lowers the risk of being injured, and you will be just as good. Basically, we run because we think it's fun, but also due to that to preserve our health. So I think we should think about why we actually exercise, and that's mainly because we feel that we're getting better, getting a better health. So that's what we should focus on. So don't run too fast. You'll just get injured.
Too late. So how to deal with eco-anxiety as a scientist who is doing your research mainly in environmental sciences, and most of the times we hear the news about climate change, that everything is worsening, and presidents like Trump coming the second time and then trying to run away from the Paris Agreement, the climate change, the commitment. And so all this, we are every day exposed to this negative view of the future. And that's a lot to deal. And some people might get too negative in their perspective and lose hope of the future. And what would be your advice, or like how to deal with this anxiety?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult question, but maybe it also turns back to what we talked about earlier about when we talked about, let's say, the problems in Denmark with the leaching of nutrients to the aquatic environment. Also, even though you think you the best way you document why the problem is as it is. There are still people in our society who are reluctant to face actually that, or maybe so that really don't believe in what we're trying to tell them. So that's I think, and that seems like to be a growing issue in many aspects, also in relation to, well, what is the effect of greenhouse gas emission? You mentioned Trump as an example. As a really, so now they are going out of the USA is leaving again the Paris agreement. So there is some kind, and it leads to that. I think that we have you also saw that, but I think you see that in all countries. But right now it's very clear that it happens in the US. So you see a clear division between people. So you have one half that maybe that respect that I can see that we have the problems. They worry about what is happening with our environment, our climate, and then we have the other half that that claims that everything is something that is invented by the society and the scientists, and it's really difficult to deal with. I think. But of course, we will have to respect somehow both sides, because it's not how to say, they are, well, it's not, they are all people living on the earth, and they maybe they have some specific reasons to why they don't believe in, you could say, in facts. So the only thing we can do is, of course, to approach them instead of trying to push them away. I think because if you approach people, then the communication with people becomes better. So, but I think it's a very good question, and I think it's really difficult to come with the perfect solution to this, because now, as I said, in the US, it's something that is going on right now, but you can also see that in many countries in Europe, maybe in nearly all, also here in Denmark, even though that, well, it's the division between people here in Denmark is maybe not as clear as, let's say, in the US or other countries in Europe, maybe, but in reality, this anxiety, how do you pronounce it, is also here, actually.
Yeah, anxiety. It's true. Even as a students or PhD fellows who are doing a research in environmental science, even sometimes I get too much anxious about the future. Yeah, because you see all the facts.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. And of course, you worry, of course, on the behalf of your children, of course, because so that's why we must be able to look ourselves into the eyes and say, did the best we could in order to hand over the world to our children. I think. Well, of course, sometimes you do a lot.
Yeah, that's why it's important to have healthy habit.
Yeah,
to deal with stress.
We also need a healthy earth.
Yeah, we also need a healthy earth. We need to fix our habits and take care of. First, it's good to claim that the whole world is ruined, but at least it's a good start to start from yourself. Yeah, I think that's also what you're doing. Yeah.
I just bought an electric car.
Great.
No, that was a little bit of. Yeah, I did actually, but it doesn't solve everything, of course.
Yeah. With
I'm trying, and also I think of course and they will also, in the sense here in Denmark, that we are decreasing our agricultural production. It will happen when we decrease our agricultural area with 15%. That means also we need to eat less meat. We have to focus more on eating plant-based food. And of course, it's for old guy as me. It's difficult. You have to completely change your mindset. So, but it's in my family, we of course we're not vegetarian, not at all, I would say, but we try to, I would say also to eat less meat, eat more dishes made of only of plants. But it's difficult. It's really difficult to change your habits, and it's not only in respect to what you eat, but also for
But
many other situations. Transport, as said.
There are also, as you said, it is difficult to make a decision, but where the government's role comes in. They need to help us provide with tools to make this decision. They should make the environment that where it would be easier to transform our habits, provide alternatives. I mean, alternatives
I guess,
for the
and
food
also
diet.
yes, and also the companies. Maybe we all need to take responsibility. The government, the companies.
Yeah, as a consumer, we can pressure them.
Yeah, we can, yes, but they also, but it is, it's difficult, I think, also as a consumer, because
it's very complex. Yeah,
it is
dynamic. Yeah,
all of us need to be pushed a little bit in the right direction. Not a little bit, a lot actually.
But the right perspective is to start from ourselves, as you said.
Of course, yeah, I agree.
What advice would you give to your younger self, and any advice for incoming PhD students or master students? Yeah,
I would think I think from my own career, nothing has really been planned. I think it's many of that I ended here was more or less a coincidence, and maybe when I have the opportunities to move from one position to another, I took the advantage. I have the opportunity at that specific times, but generally, I think you should follow your interests and I said that earlier also, what motivates you, because the outcome will be better if you do that. So that's basically my best advice, I would say.
Yeah.
Be nice, be a nice person. I think also when you end up, because that is both, of course, when you are studying, but also when you work. When after you study, you start working. Maybe let's say you become a PhD student, you start to continue working at university. Maybe you end up in a company somewhere, but engage yourself in where you are, not only in the work you're going to do, but also engage yourself in your colleagues, because the best working place is a place where you get along with your colleagues at all levels. So I think that's very important also, to socialize, speak to people, pay your interest.
It's specifically important to sounds stereotypical, but I'm also from Asia. We tend to be more shy when it comes to socializing.
Yeah, but I think it's not only about being shy, because you can also socialize even though that you're a shy person. I think because we all just have to respect each other in the way we are. So
okay. Thank you very much again for your time, and also sharing with your experience, with your perspectives. And I do hope that listening audience can find it interesting. I personally do, especially for IMSOGLO students, maybe future incoming master students. They might also help as well. A lot of interesting facts and advice. And thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a nice experience, and nice to see you, talking to you again.
We'll see you in the future, I hope.
I hope so.
Yeah.